Good afternoon to our viewers in Arizona and around the country, and thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of our virtual town hall series. My name is Jevin Hodge, and I am your candidate for the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Once again, I thank each and every one of you for tuning in and participating in our town hall series that we have going on during the COVID-19 crisis. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors is the governing body for Maricopa County, governing the 4.5 million residents and managing a budget of $2.5 billion. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors handles every issue under the sun that you can think of, from environmental protections to infrastructure and zoning, to education, to transportation. And so today we have a remarkable guest with us. And before I go any further, I would like to take just a brief moment to thank our educators and thank our teachers and wish them a happy Teacher Appreciation Week. We want to say thank you to our educators who are doing the remarkable work of putting our future, our state, and our country first and educating our youth. So thank you so much for all that you do, and happy Teacher Appreciation Week. We love you and we appreciate you. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a remarkable guest, someone that I love and appreciate dearly. She's a transformative leader, and I'm going to read to you her bio. Congresswoman Marcia Fudge is a committed public servant who brings hardworking, problem-solving spirit to Congress and the task of creating jobs, protecting safety and programs, and providing access to quality public education, healthcare, and healthy foods. First elected in 2018, she represents the people of the 11th District of Ohio. Congresswoman Fudge serves on the House Education Committee on Agriculture and the House Committee on Education and the Workforce. She is the ranking member on the Subcommittee of Early Childhood Education, Elementary and Secondary Education. She is also a member of several Congressional Caucuses and the immediate past chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. In 2014, Congresswoman Fudge became the original co-chair of the Democrats for Public Education. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in today, and welcome, Congresswoman Fudge. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate your service. Thank you for joining us today.
Listen, Jevin, it is just a pleasure for me to be here to support you. And I'm certainly hopeful that everybody who is listening is going to be supportive as well. I just want to call you Supervisor Hodge so badly. So let's just claim that and make sure that we do what we need to do to win this election for you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, and we appreciate you and your service. Let's talk a little bit about you, right? Tell us, what do you like to do? You're a busy woman. You are a busy woman. What do you like to do in your free time?
Oh, my free time, there's not much of it, but I love to do two things. One is I love to play cards. So I'm a big bid, whist, and pinochle player. So I love to play cards. And then secondly, I like to just talk to my friends and family, just in small groups, just to catch up, just to relax and chill. That's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy those kinds of special times with family and friends.
I love that. I love that. And we know anyone who knows you knows that you emulate love and you emulate affection. You are a warm individual. So that just makes sense.
Thank you.
Of course. And like you said, you're busy. Free time is limited these days. What is it like? A day in the life of a congressperson?
Well, this is my abnormal new normal, what I'm living now. Generally, well, just take today. Today is a little different only because I got up this morning and I ran some errands for my mother, which was a pleasure to be able to get out of the house, quite frankly. But a normal day, my phone generally wakes me up before I get out of bed in the morning. I'm normally on phones. I'm on calls like this 2 or 3 times every day, read a lot of material, talk to our leadership about what should be in these next packages, and of course, talk to my constituents. We just had an election on Tuesday of last week.
Mm-hmm.
So, going through the whole issue of people not being able to get their ballots, going through the issues of how do we vote absentee, whatever the issues are that are going on in our community, we try to deal with them, trying to help the food banks who are just overrun with people, to make sure that young people have the kind of distance learning ability that is required as they are out of school. So it's just a daily routine. I have hearings still, but virtually. So it's a busy day. It's a long, long day.
And you're on the East Coast, so it's 7 o'clock for you.
It is.
We appreciate you tuning in this evening with us. Tell us a little.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
On Cinco de Mayo. That's right. Well, no better place for you to be than here in Arizona.
Right.
That's right. So tell us a little bit about Ohio's 11th congressional district. From what I know, you represent America. So tell us a little bit about the 11th district of Ohio.
I really represent one of the most diverse districts in the entire Congress. Of course, about 700,000 people. My district is about 50% minority, but I have one of the largest Jewish populations. I have one of the fastest growing Asian populations. Of course, I have a very large African American population. I have the largest Palestinian population outside of Palestine in the United States.
Wow.
I have Coptics, Christians. I mean, you name it, we have it.
Mm-hmm.
This was a melting pot for many, many years, you know, in our history, where people from all countries, especially European countries at that time, came to Cleveland. And so we have some 60 different nationalities in our community.
Wow.
It's a very diverse kind of a place. I have also great wealth and great poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So it's economically diverse as well as it is demographically diverse.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you understand everything that this country is being faced with right now, especially during the COVID-19 crisis. So tell us a little bit about, you have a history, Congresswoman, of working in local government. You've served as the mayor of Warrensville Heights. You worked in the county prosecutor's office. You led a congressional staff prior to serving, the board of trustees for libraries and other local institutions. And for us, we're running an extremely large county race. Maricopa County is the 4th largest county in the country. Like I said earlier, 4.5 million residents. Tell us a little bit about the importance, from your opinion, as a Congresswoman, the importance of down ballot elections and why folks should care about their local, city government, and county governments.
Well, Jevin, I believe that I am a better legislator in Congress because I did serve at the local level. You know, it is always important for you to be able to touch the people. And so when you are close to the people, you have a better idea of what it takes to make their lives better. And I think that every elected official should have that as their number one priority, is to take care of the people and make their lives better. And so I say to people all the time, you will probably never meet the President of the United States, but you will meet your councilman, and you will meet your mayor, and you will meet your supervisor or your county commissioner, or you will meet me. So why would you only stop and vote for a president when all of the other people that make more changes in your life are people outside of that presidency? Judges. I tell people about judges all the time. Judges make decisions that affect us all, even if you never go before a judge. So vote for the judges. You know, it's your mayor and your city council that determine what your police and fire are going to be like, what your roads are going to look like, what your bridges are going to look like, what your schools are going to look like. So it is important that we find a way to really let people know down ballot that they are as important, if not more important, than the President of the United States.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Love it. And as a son of a school board president, I know firsthand. I know firsthand. And that's a huge shout out to Burdetta Hodge, president of the Tempe Union High School District. It's someone who admires you dearly.
Listen, I love her to death. That's my friend.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the topic that's been on everyone's hearts and minds right now, the CARES package. Two-part question for you. So for folks who are doing their research right now on what committees you serve on, you address basically every issue that impacts the everyday American, from addressing food and nutrition issues, energy, elections, civil rights. You know what's happening in this country because you see it through legislation and you're on the front lines. So one, can you talk a little bit about the first CARES package? And then part two would be, can you speak a little bit about the second package and what is missing from it?
Well, the first package was really the second attempt at trying to get people back to work. So that package included a lot of resources for things like unemployment insurance, the payroll protection program, some research, those kind of some agricultural and SNAP money. But the second package focused more on businesses. So even though we tried to level the playing field by setting aside or carving out about $60 billion to deal with smaller businesses, it really did not work. What I believe was not in the package, first, there was not package in there to feed the hungry. There was no money there. They did not increase SNAP, and they should have. Secondly, there was no money for local government. So when you talk about they talk about first responders and call them heroes, but they put no money in the package to take care of your policemen, your firemen, your EMS, your hospitals. at least those city-owned hospitals. Yes, there was hospital money. There also was money for testing in the bill, but not enough. There was about
Mhm.
$4 billion to do testing, and it was not directed where it needed to be directed most.
Mhm.
So there were some very good things about it. We've already spent $2 trillion on these CARES packages, but there's a lot more that needs to be done, quite frankly. I
Mhm.
mean, we did help with mortgage forbearance and rent forbearance and some of those things, but it should not be a forbearance. It should be a forgiveness. Because
Mhm.
if you can't pay your rent for 2 or 3 months now, and as soon as they say that, okay, everything is open, the virus is contained or whatever, then they expect you to pay 3 months worth of rent. That is not something you can do. So we have a lot to do.
That's
Those
right.
would be my major issues that we did not address: poverty. We did not address services for local government. And we really did not put the kind of resources in there to help the small mom and pop, one person, two-person business.
Mhm. Mhm. And so I always have to slip this in there. What could we be doing to help you?
Well, I think that the most important thing for you to do is raise your voice, is let your elected officials at every level. It doesn't just have to be Congress, because governors weigh in with us all the time, mayors weigh in with us, county supervisors and commissioners weigh in with us. Raise your voice and let them know what is missing. I mean, it is hard for an 8 or 10-year-old kid to get to me to tell me that they don't have a laptop, or they have no access to the internet or to broadband, so they can't do distance learning.
Right.
It's a lot more difficult for somebody who doesn't have access to say, look, my kids are hungry. What are you going to do about SNAP? But you can. But people who are on this call can do that, and they should do it. I believe it's their civic duty, and it's also their duty to their neighbors and their friends and other human beings to fight for them, especially when they can't fight for themselves.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So you've talked about your district, right?
Mhm.
In like you said your district's about 50% minority. And so let's talk about that. How have minority communities been affected by the virus, right? We know that there are the economic shortages. We know that there are the healthcare shortages. Tell us a little bit about what's happening, please.
Well, you know the old saying, when America catches a cold, black and brown people get pneumonia.
That's right.
That's the situation we find ourselves in. We are disproportionately affected negatively by the disease. We are dying at higher rates. We are less tested. We present sicker when we get to emergency rooms. We are in environments where it is very difficult for us to socially distance. When you live in dense populations, whether it be in apartment complexes, whether it be in public housing, if you work where you have to take public transportation, if you are an essential worker, it is impossible to socially distance. And so we find ourselves in a position where we are more exposed, but we are less um, able to get the kind of resources and the health care that we need, because we're also more likely to be uninsured.
Mm-hmm.
We're also more likely to live in areas that they don't bring their testing equipment to. And so we find ourselves in a very difficult situation. And it is laying bare from each other something that we've always known. And that is that there are two kinds of people in this society: those who have and those who have not. And it is showing that this has been going on for a long time. It's systemic, it is institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that this virus, if nothing else, will show them the disproportionate effects
Yep.
on poor people and people of color.
Yep, that's exactly right. And while we're in the same vein, what are some of the policies that we can address to address some of these inequities, to make bold steps forward?
Well, one of the things that we did put in this bill was we are mandating that there be mobile testing units so that we can send those units to our communities. We've also mandated that all testing be free, so that whether you have insurance or not, you can go to the hospital and not wait until you are so sick that when you report you can't be healed. Also, that we are trying to make sure that the resources that we have sent, even though not big enough, the $1,200 and the $500 per child under the age of 17, will at least be a jump start for you.
Mhm.
We are trying to make sure that we make food banks where they ought to be. We are sending food and $3 billion worth of food to food banks over the next few weeks and months. And then we've also done some things with student loans. You know, those young people who are in school, there's a forbearance on any kind of federal student loan, as well as you don't lose your Pell Grant. If you're on a Pell Grant, you don't lose it because you lost a semester. We're going to make sure that we give you that back. We're doing all the things that we can do as a federal government, but there are a lot of things that we cannot do.
Right.
But I just think that the biggest thing is testing, contact tracing, access to healthcare,
Hmm.
access to food, and education. Those are the things that we need to be focused on, and I hope that we are all focused on that.
That's right. That's right. Let's switch over to talk a little bit about economic development, talk about local businesses. For starters, what do you have to say to our local business owners that are struggling right now, that are trying to make ends meet, the mom and pop shops, or even the local coffee shop that was thriving prior to this, that just can't get the resources that they need?
I'm going to tell them right now, go back and apply again. There's still billions of dollars in this last tranche. They should go back and go to a bank, go to 5 or 6 of them if they need to. You know, the problem is that these big banks have decided they only want to do business with people that they have a relationship with. So
Mm-hmm.
go to your smaller banks, go to your credit unions, go to your community development financial institutions, go to smaller venues. And I think that you'll probably have a better outcome, as well as make sure that you know exactly how to go about it, but apply. Don't sit
Mm-hmm.
back. Don't, if you've been turned down, I don't care. Go back and apply. There is money there, and do it right away.
I love it. I love it. You heard it here first from Congresswoman Fudge. Apply for the PPP.
Yes,
It's important. It's needed. Find you a financial institution and give them a call, because we need to keep these doors open.
that's right. And like I said, go to the credit unions, the community banks, the CDFIs. Go to something smaller than your mega banks, because they deal with mega corporations and mega businesses. Go to someplace. Everybody in business generally has a bank account somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It may be at the big bank, but don't go to them. Go to one of these small institutions, because they want to do the business. So
Mm-hmm.
go and do it right away.
And so we're going to switch over to talk about elections in just a little bit. But my last question, as we're talking about policy and we're talking about the issues facing our country, we've noted multiple times you represent America. What are some of the issues that you're seeing from constituents that are calling your office, and residents of the United States that are calling, Americans that are calling down to Congress? What are some of the key issues that you're seeing?
Well, it changes during this coronavirus. We're getting things like, please take care of our first responders. You know, please make sure that our communities survive. Make sure that we have the health. So it changes
Mm-hmm.
based upon what is going on in the country. Education is a huge issue. Feeding hungry children is a huge issue, because these kids are out of school, and most of the time they get their meals in school.
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with issues of daily life. You know, people just trying to survive. When you put people out of work that have worked all their lives, they don't even know where to start. And that's what we're doing today. More than 30 million people in this country are unemployed and have asked for unemployment insurance.
Wow.
So we know, when you think about 30 million people, some of them will never have their jobs back again, because the businesses they work for will close. And so we have to start to think about what happens after
Right.
the virus, what happens after we open up, and how do we ensure that people have all of their rights intact, and that we can help them start their lives over again. That's kind of where our minds are now. Yes, let's take care of the problem. Where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do we lay that foundation? Right. And most importantly, how can local leaders, mayors, school board members, supervisors, county commissioners work with members of Congress to create a sustainable pathway moving forward that provides economic relief, that provides access to education, to health and human services, to healthcare, et cetera? We're right there with you. We're right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, we just got to make sure that housing is available. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
just not enough low income and moderate income housing being built in this country. We need to make sure that it's there. We need to
Yep.
make sure that we can put children back in a safe environment to learn. We need to make sure that our senior citizens who are under normal circumstances taken care through other initiatives are taken care of now, because they can't really come out of their house. They can't afford to buy the food that they normally would have based upon their either Medicare or Medicaid or whatever the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot at stake, but I just always have believed that you take care of the people and give the most to those who have the least. That's how I live my life.
That's
And
exactly
that
right.
I think we ought to all be doing.
That's exactly right. I couldn't agree with that. I felt that one on a spiritual level. I couldn't agree with that more. Couldn't agree with that more. Okay, so
All right.
we have thousands of people around the country right now, Congresswoman, that are putting themselves, their loved ones, our communities at risk and in danger by joining these massive protests to end the lockdown. So talk to me. What do we have to say to these people? What is your take on this? Talk to us a little bit about this, about these, because it's not just happening here in Arizona, it's happening around the country.
It is happening around the country. I think it's really very, very selfish, first off. It's one thing if you want to put your own health at risk, but don't put mine at risk. It's one thing if you disagree with an elected official, but it's not necessary to be threatening, to be mean-spirited, to not follow the law. You know, we are a nation of laws for a reason. That is what makes us a civilized society. We are a nation of laws. And so when you decide that because you don't like something, that you want to take the law into your own hands, then you are, to me, you are a criminal. And I think that we should realize that these are not citizens who are going around saying, oh, you know, I'm exercising my right. Yeah, to some degree you are, but as long as it doesn't infringe on mine. Because once you infringe on my rights, then you're not just exercising your rights anymore. You are going beyond that.
Yep.
And I think that because of what is happening in this country today, all of us need to do our civic duty and to try to make sure that our communities are safe.
Yep.
And that we all come out of this whole together. So I would say to them, go home and sit down.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Go home and sit down. We have doctors and nurses and support staff every single day that are going to work, risking their lives. And you're doing nothing but potentially exposing more people to more risk and harm.
Exactly right.
That's
and make
right.
people believe it's not as serious as it is. It is a very serious disease, and we should not take it lightly because somebody wants to go out and just be a renegade.
Yep.
It is a very serious disease.
And we do not know much about it, right? We know very limited information. We don't know the side effects. We don't know the after effects. We don't have a vaccine. We barely have enough testing now that's identifying some of the causes, but we have no clue what this is going to look like in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, etc.
We have no idea.
That's right.
And if the doctors are right, they're saying that there may be a resurgence of this in the fall. So we cannot let our guard down. If they say be 6 feet apart, be 6 feet apart. You know, they know more about it than we know about it.
That's exactly right.
I think that they would spend all of their time and energy telling us something that isn't true. So we have to believe and have some faith.
That's exactly right. They spend years going to school. They've lived and breathed this stuff every single day. That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
November is right around the corner.
It is.
It's an election year. We have a very hot race for president right now. So talk to us a little bit about this. You're in Ohio. You are in the midst of a battleground, in a battleground state. What is your take on the 2020 election?
In a nutshell, Jevin, I'm going to say it this way. If we do not get out and vote and make a change in the leadership of this nation, we will not recover in my lifetime. The same people who we work with who do not believe that they need to feed hungry people, the same people who do not believe that they need to help anyone other than the wealthy. I mean, we gave the richest people in this country a $2 trillion tax cut about 3 years ago. If we hadn't done that, we may have more money to help people who are in need today. People who do not believe in science, who do not believe in education, who do not believe in school meals. We are in an environment where people don't understand how at risk this nation is of becoming something very different than the democracy we believe we live in. So I would say that no matter what is going on, find a way to get to the polls and or vote by mail, but vote in November, because if we don't, we will regret it for a lifetime.
You heard it here first. We got a great question that just came in from Trevor Paxton, Congresswoman. He has a two-part question. Part one is, what challenges do you face as a Democratic representative in a predominantly red state? And part two is, what advice can you give to those running in similar environments to help those who may not share your views to trust your ideas and vote for you?
Well, I think I have represented some form of constituency for more than 20 years. The one thing I pride myself on is being honest. I'm never going to sugarcoat or candy coat something. If I think that you are right or wrong, I don't have a problem with it, but I'm going to always tell you what my position is. I respect the views and the values of people I disagree with. All I ask them to do is respect mine. And I think that we can get along that way. That's what makes us a great nation, is that we are able to deal with our differences. We are able to have the ability to disagree agreeably, and to know that all of us want the right thing. You see, if your heart is in the right place, even though our ideas may be in a different place, we all want the same thing, which is what is best for our constituents, what is best for our country. So I disagree vehemently with many of my colleagues, but I can still talk to them every day because I know that they still want the best for America too.
Right. Right. And I believe that at its core is the heart of what's missing right now in civil engagement, in civil and discourse, is the fact that we are all human. We are all human. Our blood bleeds the same way. Our heart pumps the same way. And we're all human. And we can have disagreements. That is okay. It is needed. It is needed when you're having constructive discussions that will move us forward. But the fact that people take out the human element is what gets under my skin more than anything else. And it's disheartening. It's sad to see that this is a state of affairs now where it's constantly us versus them, regardless of what it is. It's constantly us versus them.
That's true. And the other thing that I have found, Jevin, over my life is that when you engage with people you disagree with, once they come to know you and like you, even though they may disagree with you, they can't hate you.
That's exactly right.
And so there's always a certain amount of respect for our views and our opinions, and we find a way to find common ground. He talked about me being in a red state. That is so true. I would say we're really more purple, but lately we've been trending red. I think that you just have to work hard enough to make people know who you are and what you stand for. People just want to know what you stand for. They may not agree with everything that you believe in, but more times than not, they will agree with most of what you believe in, because I still believe we are more alike than we are different. That's
exactly right. We are more alike than we are different. That's so true. That is so true. We got a great question that just came in from David Jaffe. David says, what will election security look like in November? Is it possible to get every state to adopt universal mail-in?
Well, I don't know that it's possible, but we're going to try awfully hard. Right now, in the last CARES bill, we put about $400 million in there for elections. We need about $2 billion, somewhere between $2 and $3 billion, to make sure that every state has the ability to do an all vote by mail election. We may not need to do it, but we want them to have the ability to do it. And we need to do it now so that we can make sure that we are not caught off guard come close to time, because the last thing we want is for somebody to say, oh, the virus is going, we can't go out and vote because everybody can't go out. No, we want to make sure right now that every state has the proper equipment, the proper training, and the proper access. Right now there are lots of states that will allow you to vote by mail, but they want you to have a certain kind of information that you have to give them. You have to have an excuse. You have to have a notary. You have to have something. All of that has to be out of the window. So we have about 3 bills right now in the House and in the Senate that we believe we can get at least some action on. But of course, the president does not believe in, even though he votes by mail, he does not want to vote by mail election. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but we're fighting it every day.
Yep. And Arizona, as most folks know, has some of the most forward vote by mail laws, where you vote 30 days out from the election, you sign up prior to that, and your ballot comes to your house. And so this is a simple plug right now. If you're not on the PEVL system, which is the permanent early voters list, go to servicearizona.com, sign up, re-register regardless of what party you are, Democrat, Republican, or non-party affiliate, and get on the PEVL to protect yourself, to protect your communities, and participate in your democracy. It's so vitally important. And we say this every time, right, Congresswoman? This is the most important election of your lifetime. No, every election is the most important election of your life. That's right.
Every single one, not just presidentials, every election.
That's exactly right. And it's
never, ever think you can skip an election.
Never, never. I mean, it's our freedom. It's our voice. It's been granted to us. And so we must participate and do all that we can.
That's right. It's the day that every single American has the same power.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Raven asked a really good question. Mr. Raven Padilla said, what do you believe is the key to bouncing back from the COVID-19 crisis, especially for those in minority communities?
I think it's a couple of things. I think one is, first off, we have to be healthy coming out of it. Secondly, I think that this country is now going to understand how important the work we do is. And so I think what you're going to see is better people who better understand. So I think you're going to see wages increase. And I think that's going to be important. I think you're going to see more focus on education, because I think it has to happen. Because I still believe no matter what, a good education is the best equalizer in this nation. I think also that you're going to have to make sure that we as communities start to support those businesses and those environments and entities that survive, because a lot of them will not.
That's right.
So we have to figure out how we make it easy for people to engage with those who still have thriving enterprises, to get them jobs. That's going to be the biggest issue coming out of this, is going to be jobs. And how do you make up for the lost wages and the lost profits that you've had over the last, what'll probably be 3 months. So that's going to be the most difficult part, is determining who survives, how we connect people who need work with those people, or how do we support them until they do. That's how we come out of it.
And the government can support until they do. And as you think, we're hearing this around the country. Infrastructure projects, just for one example, are booming right now. Folks are off the roads. And so we have a unique opportunity to invest in technical training for individuals, to invest in opportunities for folks to go back to school to learn a new skill so that they can get back into the workforce. This is a vital time right now to hit the reset button and refresh and restart and invest in the communities where they matter most.
Absolutely. Right now, we're going to probably end up hiring about 100,000 or anywhere from 100,000 to 300,000 contact tracers.
Wow.
Because we need to, it has to happen. You know, we need to get up to 1 million tests a day in this country, and have hundreds of thousands of people trying to determine, you know, when they find someone who tests positive, who did they contact? Who are they? It's going to take a lot of people to do that. A lot of it they can do from their phones, but it is a job. It is a way to start to get back into the economy.
That's exactly right.
We're going to have to find out how we work that through, but that's going to be the biggest issue, is how do we get people back acclimated and hired in jobs that maybe they had before, but that are no longer there.
Yep, that's exactly right. We just had a great question come in from a well-respected community leader and community activist here in Arizona. I call him Pop. Fred Barlam says, what can we do to help candidates get elected in this COVID-19 crisis when many of the usual avenues, such as door-to-door canvassing, are not available?
Well, you know, it's interesting because we have gone much more to a social networking kind of a society anyway. You know, as we have evolved over the last probably 10 or 15 years, even if you knock on doors, people don't tend to want to answer them. They don't want to open the doors to let people in. You know, so I think that you have to do more social media, but also you're going to have to do more mail, getting pieces of literature out. You're going to have those people who endorse you or your surrogates in neighborhoods where they know people. You're going to have to work a different way. You're going to have those endorsers get out there, whether it be your pastors, whether it be people at the playground, wherever it may be. Once this opens up, you're going to need a whole lot of people out there speaking on their behalf. People respond to people they know and like.
That's right.
And so you find people in the community, whether it be neighborhood by neighborhood. Maybe you get a captain on every street. Maybe
I call it mayors of your block.
That's it.
Yep.
So you're going to have to do a lot more and phone, social media. It's going to be tough, but it can be done.
Yep. That's exactly right. And doing this, right? Think about folks, we're connecting with people around the nation currently. You're in Ohio, I'm in Arizona, so we're doing our duty, and folks are tuning in, asking questions. That's exactly right. We have another great question just came in. Mr. Jaffe asked another question, said, carbon emissions are down now. How do we ensure that they do not come back up to a green economy?
Well, they're going to come back up some because he's right. People are not on the roads.
Hmm.
You can look at the maps now, but they show how much cleaner the area is. But the first thing we have to do is continue to enforce the emissions laws that have been in place for a long time. That this administration has just said, no, we don't want to do that right now. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do gas mileage. We don't have to do emissions stuff. We don't have to do any of that. And so we have to make sure that our government, that our administration understands how important the environment is. These are the same people who have rolled back regulations on water, who have rolled back regulations on pesticides, who have rolled back regulations on just about everything that makes this economy safe as it relates to eating and air. So we have to make sure that we put people in place who believe that what we believe,
Yep.
that the environment is important and that it is worth fighting for, and not just saying, you know what, on my watch, I'm going to make sure everybody that wants me to roll back a regulation, I'm just going to do it for them because they're my friends and I want to help them.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right. And that goes when you lead people first, right? When you put people first with your leadership, and and everyone is a leader, especially like we were just talking about the power of the vote, right? Everyone is a leader. And so when you're a leader and you're thinking in the interest of the people, you know who needs to be in those positions. We just got an email. And so I'm monitoring. I got a few different screens going right now. Dr. K just emailed us, Congresswoman, and he said, my question is, how can we possibly coordinate a meaningful response to the pandemic when federal leadership is disjointed, erratic, and not fact-based?
Well, I just have to say, I asked the same question. I work with them every day, but what we know is this. We have an administration that sometimes isn't as direct or as forthright as I would like to see them.
Yep.
If you remember a month and a half ago, 7, 8 weeks ago, they said it was a hoax. It didn't exist. And then people are dying every day. Now they're estimating 3,000 people a day may die over the next few weeks. And so what we need is honest, direct leadership.
Yep.
And people who believe in science and healthcare and believe scientists and doctors and researchers. And that's what we need. There's no other way to say it except for that we have to have leadership that is strong enough to say, look, this is a major problem.
Yep.
And we need to address it. And this is how we address it, as opposed to want to sugarcoat it.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say other than that's what it takes. It takes putting the right person in the right place to give people the right facts.
And I can't stress this enough, right? The leadership starts with the individual. Correct. Right? We need to I challenge everyone right now tuning in to invite 5 people to either register to vote or introduce them to your favorite candidate so that they can learn more about what is happening here on the ground and they can listen and hear from folks that are going to put people first, right? And that's what it's going to come down to.
And also learn for yourself. Don't just listen to what you hear on television sometimes. Sometimes it's important that you read something. It is important that you look to leaders or experts and find out what they're saying. Don't just take somebody's word for it unless it's somebody you know and trust. And even then, like they say, trust but verify.
Yep, that is exactly right. Listen to the mayor on your block and trust and verify.
Trust and verify.
That's right. That's right. David is just firing away, and we're going to show this last question from him. He says, will anything come out of the most recent whistleblower complaint regarding the administration's early response to the pandemic?
I do believe yes. And the reason I do believe it will happen this time, as opposed to some of the things that have happened in the past, is because this pandemic has exposed so much. Anytime you would say the leader of the free world would tell somebody to take disinfectant, or we would, or we would say, you know what, it's not that serious. Everybody just go, nothing to see here. Go about your way. And we know people are dying. We know hospitals are overrun. We know nurses and doctors are dying. Every day they're afraid to go to work because they're afraid that they'll transmit it to their families. And so I think this time is different because I think the country is different and in a different place. So yes, I do think something will come of it. Yes.
That's beautiful. I mean, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, from Congresswoman Fudge. So Congresswoman, 45 minutes have gone by. It didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
See, that's what happens. That's what happens when we have good conversation, we have amazing leadership, right? And we have a wonderful audience that's tuning in and asking the right questions. Congresswoman, I know that you're a busy woman and you're out wearing your cape every day, saving everyone. So in closing, what do you have to say to everyone?
I'm going to say it the way that I really feel it. America is still the greatest nation in the world. And the only way it will stay that way is if we all do our part. If we all stay engaged, care about one another, put aside whatever differences we have to come together for the greater good, America will always be a great nation. And so I would leave you with that we have our problems, but America is great because its people are great. So let's just continue to be great people and be good neighbors and good citizens.
That's right. That's right. Oh, man, I felt that. So I'll say this, Congresswoman, thank you so much. We appreciate you. All the viewers today, please join me in giving this wonderful woman a round of applause, a virtual hug, give her a virtual high five, and send her good wishes. We need her leadership in Congress, and she's been absolutely remarkable. Congresswoman Fudge, I deeply appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for your steadfast leadership. Thank you for your love and appreciation for the American people, and thank you for all that you are doing.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. You know I love you.
We love you too. We love you too.
All right.
That's right. So in closing, ladies and gentlemen, that's Congresswoman Fudge, and we're so grateful to have her, and we are so appreciative of her leadership and everything that she is doing for the American people. You heard it here first. Get out there, register to vote, get on the early vote system. We call it Pebble here in Arizona. Go to servicearizona.com. If you want to learn more about our race or you would like to support our movement, go to jevinhodge.com. I am truly appreciative of everyone's efforts in service. Protect yourself. Wash your hands. I love you. I am with you. If you need a shoulder to lean on, send me a line. Call, text, email, send your carrier pigeon. I will be there for you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to get involved. Follow us on Facebook, like our pages, stay connected, send us an email. Thank you everyone for your time and your appreciation today. Have a wonderful week.